What's going on? This is Larry.
This is Dara.
And we're going to be giving you a recap on a cruise that we went on. It was from November 24th to November 28th. This was a Thanksgiving cruise on the MSC Seaside. This was a trip of huge magnitude because it was my entire family. So with everyone, it was a total of 16 people. So my mom, my aunts, my nieces, my sisters, and everyone's family. So we're going to talk about some of the good things that we experienced on the MSC Seaside and some of the bad. There were a lot of bad, to be honest with you. Normally we're a Carnival cruise family. We actually have a Carnival cruise coming up in 2 days, literally. So we're looking forward to try to get the taste of this last cruise out of our mouths. But our family had a good time, and that was the most important thing on this cruise. And we kept our opinions to ourselves because we didn't want our experience to spoil them, because the family had a great time because they didn't have anything to compare it to. For us, we have 4 other Carnival cruises that we've been on to compare our experience to, and we have some insight as to why we didn't like this cruise as much. So without further ado, we're going to talk about some of the points. All right, so we're going to talk about the MSC cruise port within itself. The cruise port was absolutely gorgeous, brand new, state of the art. There's not much I could say. There was a lot of space. There was a lot of space to maneuver. We actually showed up in a shuttle that held 16 of us, so it worked out well in our favor. We had a little bit of a snafu, and this was just because I didn't know one of the personnel in our party, they had mobility issues. So I had ordered a wheelchair for that person, but it was brought on the cruise ship itself. So getting off the shuttle, we had no wheelchair. I was under the assumption that I would be able to get the wheelchair to bring this person onto the ship, but we got into a little bit of I won't say misunderstanding because the guy was just doing his job, but when we got to the port when we're actually trying to check in, the guy was like, yeah, we can't give you guys a wheelchair. We're like, wait a minute. You guys said that you will provide us an opportunity to get from the port onto the cruise ship. He said, yeah, that wheelchair is actually on the ship itself. You guys got to get up here on your own. So one of the guys in our group was like, I need to talk to a manager. So went and talked to the manager. They were like, because of liability issues, we're not supposed to bring the wheelchairs down into the parking lot. But we explained like we didn't know that, and we don't have any way to get them upstairs. Because literally this person might as well be ambulatory. So that's word to the wise of anybody that's going on a cruise in a situation like that. You guys probably already knew, but this is something learning experience for me, pulling so many people. So I know next time to make sure that we carry a wheelchair with us, regardless if we actually try to purchase one. It worked out in the end. The supervisor was like, yeah, please don't do me wrong. Don't make me look bad. Make sure you bring the wheelchair back. I'm like, where are we going to go? We had these shirts on. Thanksgiving cruise 2025, and our last names on the back. Especially me, I'm 6'9". Where I'm gonna go? Where I'm gonna run off to? But I get it. We got the wheelchair. We got everybody on board. The check-in process was extremely fast. Probably the fastest that we've ever had, that we've experienced on any Carnival ship. Like, it was quick. They had a passport line, and then they had the birth certificate line. So we all have our passports. So it was quick. We were on the ship very quickly. I can't say enough about that cruise port. It's amazing. All right, so boarding the ship. So once we got on the ship, we were greeted by a mascot. I mean, that's always one of the best parts. Is your embarkation day when you're going from I guess you call it the galley, or from the port to the actual cruise ship itself. So I was super excited. I'm always super excited when it happens. I really wanted us to go as a group because I wanted to get everyone else's reaction to boarding the cruise ship for the first time. But, we all were split up. We stayed back because we wanted to make sure that everyone got on the ship. Once we got on the ship, we were greeted by a huge sun. I guess that's the MSC mascot. I think that's the sun. The workers, they were dancing, having a good time. I said, oh, snap, this is about to be a good cruise. We met up with some of our family members. They were waiting down in one of the sitting areas. And then from there, we went to our muster station. So our muster station is completely different from what we saw online previously. Previously, we saw where they say you would go upstairs, you watch a video, then you had to go back downstairs and go to your muster station. Well, for us, we went straight to our muster station. Then once we had access to our rooms, we had to watch a video and call the number. We've been on Carnival 4 times previous, so it wasn't a problem for us, but for some of the people in our party, they're technologically challenged, and they made things more difficult. Like, you didn't check in for your muster station. Like, where were I supposed to go? I was like, you were supposed to go here, and you're supposed to call this number 888 or something like that to say that you watched the safety video. Well, I didn't know, so I'm not going to get into that. But muster station, muster drill, great. At that point, we were free to roam around the ship until the rooms became available, or our luggage became available. So now it's just trying for us to find some food. All right, so we're going to talk about our first thoughts of once we got on the ship, or even before we got on the ship, just looking at the ship from the port. The ship is absolutely huge. Now, not compared to like a Royal Caribbean or like an Icon or Star of the Seas or Oasis or anything like that, but for comparison, the biggest ship that we've ever been on so far has been a Mardi Gras. So the Carnival Mardi Gras, and this ship was huge. I like the size of the ship. Once we got on, that sparkly crystal staircase they talk about, the ship looked stunning. So I have nothing bad to say about the size of the ship. The ship was amazing. The ship also had 2 dining buffets. So one on the 8th floor 16. And then one on the 16th floor. So, you get to, I won't say pick your poison, but pick which route you wanted to go. So that was something new for us. 2 buffets on 2 different floors. And I think that kind of split it up so that it wouldn't seem so crowded on the ship. Waiting for the rooms to open up, there was definitely a lot of people walking around, people trying to find places to sit. Saw how crowded the ship was, and then that was our first opportunity to see how the staff at MSC operates. How they keep up with the demand, especially when you board the ship for the first time. Most people are hungry, so they're trying to find, they want to eat. So that was our first red flag, but I ain't gonna talk about that right now because Derek got a lot to say about that.
All right. So like Larry was saying, the ship was gorgeous at first sight. And after we got done getting down to business, it was time for the sail away party. So of course that was something, we were all hyped about, family first time experiencing that. So we wanted to make sure everybody, got out on the Lido deck to experience that. Well, it was a little on the dry side. It wasn't hyped. It wasn't, they probably had about 4 crew members dancing. The guests on the ship, they wasn't really hyped. No one was hyped. So I said to myself, okay, here we go. We're gonna see moving forward how this plays out. So like Larry said earlier, that was a red flag to what's about to go down. All right. So that first night we booked at a specialty dining because they had a deal going on for, was it Welcome Aboard?
Welcome Aboard.
It was a Welcome Aboard deal at the Butcher's Cut. So we definitely took advantage of that. So it was our family and Larry's mom.
My mom and both my aunts and our kids. They came with us. My sister, she went the hour before we did with her husband. But
yeah, so we were excited. Butcher's Cut. So we get set down. Restaurant is nice. We get set down. Our waiter, he was great until he brought out the menu and was polite enough to let us know. Now I'm gonna say this again, everyone. This was the first night. First night. Follow me. So as he's passing out the menu, the kids order what they would like, not a problem. Then it was our turn, and he informed us that a few of the top items was already sold out.
First night.
Sold out. So No lobster. They had some type of bone marrow
soup
or something.
Popular, yes.
Yeah, it was popular. What else? I believe there was a type of steak. And it was a dessert they were out of. So we just couldn't understand. So it didn't deteriorate dinner, but it did put a little damper on dinner. So we did proceed to order, of course, but he was letting us know basically the reasoning for them not having the certain items technically being sold out, and it was due to the demand, because I believe he said the ship had just came
back from the Mediterranean or Italy. So at that point, they said that the food inspectors, go figure, food inspectors, they were being inspected, and there were certain items they weren't able to get on the ship. Now, I don't know how true that is, but they don't have any reason to lie to us. But it being the first day, that's when you restock everything heavily. Like, they were out. There's no way they could have just sold out. I think there had to been a issue with ordering. Like, somebody forgot to restock those particular items, the popular items. But we digress. We're like, all right, here we go. First thing we saw now, this thing number 2, and it was like, oh boy. Well, all right, we're not, once again, kept our opinions to ourselves, but what we could, because people at the table, we were upset. We're like, there's no way we spent money for specialty dining and the items that we want, they're not there. The cheesecake was good though.
So entertainment. The entertainment, hands down, was pretty amazing, considering the fact of the red flags we had previous, already boarding the ship. One of the entertainments that was amazing was Skywalker, which was a Michael Jackson show. Hands down, it was absolutely amazing. Highly recommend that if you ever board MSC. Also, the White Party. The White Party was awesome also. Nice turnout with the crowd. Everybody was intrigued. The DJ was awesome. That was hands down a great time, and it was out on the Lido deck. And so we were very happy that the weather played a part in that, so everyone could have a good time. So highly recommend White Party. Also, some of our family, they did not only went, but they did karaoke. And they said that was a great time. They had a great time with karaoke. And then also they did the magic show. And again, they said that was awesome. So highly recommend entertainment on MSC. They don't need any work in that area. And so all around, again, they do have the game shows, besides the karaoke, I think they have, the bingo, things like that. So highly recommend getting involved in any and all entertainment on MSC.
All right, now we're going to talk about Ocean Cay. So that was our first stop. We only had 2 stops on this cruise. It was a short cruise. So Ocean Cay was awesome. The beach area, they had a tram that took you from right where you go onto Ocean Cay, getting off the ship, and it will take you to the areas, or the popular areas.
Well, tell them Ocean Cay. What is Ocean Cay?
So Ocean Cay is MSC's private island. They have a lot of things going on. Mostly, of course, we got the beach. One of the things, they have an adults area as well. I actually wound up in that area by accident because I thought that the tram was actually taking me back to the ship, and it didn't. So I walked all the way back. I didn't have to, but it was around that time where everybody was trying to get back to the ship. So I was like, you know what? Let me enjoy this walk. It took me about 20 minutes to walk throughout Ocean Cay to get back to the ship, and it actually worked out in my favor, since Dara and the kids and my mom, all of them had actually gotten on the tram and actually went back earlier on the original tram. And I actually was walking, and I wound up walking in, and I found Dara in one of the stores. So one thing I want to say about Ocean Cay, we had no problems with. However, it's the individuals. I went off on a gentleman. It really wasn't going off, but my mom is 83 years old. So had my mom standing up. I said, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to have you sit down." So this young kid ran across to where the seats were at. He sat down, and then his dad came up right behind him, looked directly at my mom, and then sat down. I looked at him. I said, I ain't going to say what I said because I said it loud, so he knew I was talking to him. And I said, "Come on, Mom." I grabbed my mom's hand, and I walked her to another set of seats. One thing that we want to say about this, so one of the things about us being stationed in Germany, because we're military, is that we have an idea of how the European culture is. And this is in no way, shape, or form it's not meant to be disrespectful, but they have a certain way about themselves. It's not them being belligerent. It's not them being evil on purpose. But to us, some of the things they do is considered very rude. That happened to be one of those instances. We have more instances where we felt that not the crew members, but the passengers were being rude. And that's something that we've read, or not read, but something that we saw in videos that we watched about MSC Seaside. So we have to be specific on that. The Seaside. We're not talking about the other ships like the Seascape. We're not talking about World America. But specifically, when people have actually gone, or Americans have gone on the Seaside, that's where the issues have arisen. But we're going to talk about that later. But Ocean Cay, the food was great. The weather was great. The beaches were clean. There's not much that I can say about Ocean Cay. What do you think about Ocean Cay?
Like Larry said, yeah, we had a good time. We rented some beach chairs, and they came with the umbrellas. So they're kind of I don't want to say a first come first serve, because we did purchase them, but there were plenty to choose from. So it wasn't like you paid for something and now you can't find nowhere to sit. So we were able to find our chairs and the umbrella, and the water was cold. But once you got acclimated to it, it was all good. Like I said, it was a good time. It would have been nice if they had a little DJ out there playing a little music. I mean, but hey, but besides that, again, the kids had a great time. We had a great time. Like Larry said, they have the complimentary buffet food line that moved pretty quickly. You may or may not be able to find a seat. We did get lucky and found seating. So we were able to sit down and eat, but the seating for that is limited. So I recommend either going as soon as they open the buffet line. If not, then if you're not too far, you could take it back to your beach chairs to enjoy that. And they have a few shops, so you can do some shopping, and so that was nice. And then I believe they had some eatery, other
you pay
trucks.
Additional money for.
Yeah, additional trucks out there. They had but it was all said and done, they had the wash station, so that was nice to kind of rinse yourself off. Like I said, the trams, they come every 15 minutes, mm-hmm. and they were pretty good about trying to get as much people as they can on one tram. So they were very good about transporting everyone to where they needed to go. So yeah, so overall we had a great time at Ocean Cay.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the complimentary dining items outside of the buffet. So we were at the Seashore. That's where we were set to eat, the Seashore restaurant. We ate there on 3 different occasions. The first time we ate dinner. We had no problems. It was a great experience. It actually gave us hope for what brunch was going to be like, which was the day of Thanksgiving. It's called the Thanksgiving brunch. So we were super excited. So we had a great time eating here yesterday. So if they can keep this up, we're not going to have any issues. But issue that came up, and once again, this is not to be trying our best not to be disrespectful or too critical of MSC Seaside, but that brunch was horrible. And what I mean by that, we ordered, prime example, so for my meal, my brunch, I ordered an omelet with everything on it. Omelet was fine, but then I also had sides. The omelet came out, no side. Okay, great. Okay, maybe the side's going to come out, 3 minutes later. 20 minutes later, my side showed up. I was like, how on earth are you going to bring out my sausage and my hash browns 20 minutes after you've already brought out my omelet? The omelet was gone. The omelet was already gone. They had even brought out the parfaits. Like the parfaits were already out before my sides came out. So one thing about the Seaside, at least on our cruise, they were not ready for an American market. They were ill prepared. They moved extremely slow. We saw that going to the buffet as well. We're eating at the buffet, which Derek loved the pizza. Well, the pizza was good. I'm not going to sit up there and lie to you. The food on the buffet was as cruise food, so it's not much to say there. But what we've experienced in the past as far as eating at the buffet, when once again, we only have, we can compare Carnival. Whenever you would be done with the plate, they would be right there. Hey, can I take the plate? Can I take that plate? On the Seaside, we had 3 and 4 plates stacked up, and they would not come to the table. So I don't know, once again, if that's that culture, but they were very slow acting. The other thing and I know we talked about, we're saying we're going to talk about the Seashore restaurant, but we got a long time to talk about that because we had some issues after brunch. Brunch, we got to sit together. So that was the plus. But like I said, they moved too slow. They moved extremely slow on the buffets as well. Same thing when we went to another specialty restaurant. We didn't mention that. Ola Tacos.
Yes.
With Ola Taco.
Yes.
Hey, I recommend you eat at Ola Tacos. That food was great.
It was all you can eat.
It was all you can eat. Tacos and quesadillas, and it was good. Once again, though, they were slow. We put in an order, and it would take them forever for it to come out. And it's like, you don't have that many people here. Like, what's taking so long? Like,
it felt like they were understaffed. Like, just the whole ship in itself. Like, they were extremely understaffed. Noticed also, like you said, when we first got on the ship, beautiful, clean. But as time went on, you just seen just stuff. And you're like, wait a minute, where's the people at to pick, maintenance, basically, maintenance the ship. And we also noticed that we would see maybe 1 or 2 people working in a section. There was no different person you'll see, or people rotating, things like that. So I honestly believe they were extremely overstaffed, and like Larry said, they was not prepared for us Americans, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
so,
I'm glad you mentioned that, understaffed. I think that's probably a better way to put it, but they seem flustered, especially with dealing with a group like ours. They seemed flustered when we were trying to get stuff done. So I guess there may have been training or crew in training, because after the incident, like I talked about with the sides coming out 20 minutes later, it seemed like some older or more experienced waiters or crew came to our table. And then once they came, everything started going like that. I was like, okay, these are the vets. But by that time, heck, our brunch was done. Mm-hmm. So brunch. Now we're going to talk about Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving dinner. So excited. Everyone's dressed nice. We, like Larry said, we have an assigned restaurant to go to. Not a problem. So here we are, heading to our restaurant, heading to our table. Again, it was 16 of us. They had 2 tables for us, okay, which was a no-no. So the first table they had, I believe it's set 10.
That sounds about right.
Set 10. And then they had another table to the side is where me and Larry sat and our kids and his aunt, his 2 aunts. So we were separated. I was very upset and very disappointed. This was a Thanksgiving cruise. This was the family's first time cruising. So for me, family is important. Family is a big thing to me. I was really disappointed that they could not accommodate. This wasn't nothing that they wasn't aware of. Right. To say like, we didn't know it was this many of you coming. So that was already strike number 1. Number 2, the fact it's like, okay, so now we can't even get a family picture together because now we're separated for Thanksgiving dinner. So that really put a damper. I was trying my best to stay afloat, but it was really hard for me. So through the entire dinner, I was just completely upset. The family was eating. When the waiter came out, he sensed my frustration because he kind of gave it to me back a little bit, and I gave it back to him to let him know that all of this is unacceptable. And with that being said, I ended up ordering my food, and that was another disappointment. I'm not going to really kind of go into all that, but just the overall was just not good. When it was all said and done, as we were leaving, I guess you could say manager, whoever he was, approached me, and called himself apologizing, and wanted to know exactly, what happened. But at that point, everything was already done and over with. And it was just very disappointing. And I let him know, like, that was not okay. Because we did notice other families, they were all sitting together as a family. And as we come in, now we're being separated as a family. And so, again, I'm not going to get too in deep with it, but let's just say it really put, a damper. I mean, we already had the red flags, as we were cruising, and this was pretty much the icing on the cake when it came to our Thanksgiving dinner. So at that point, I told Larry, I am completely done with MSC Seaside. 100%.
Yeah. So like she was saying with those red flags that we saw, I guess one thing, a cruise is what you make of it, and you try your best not to compare it to everything, but you see one thing, then it's not like we were looking. We were trying to ignore some of the flags. Small red flags, no problem. But big red flag, like the steakhouse, butcher's cut, you don't have items on the first night. This is embarkation day. That was a huge red flag. And then we weren't trying to pay attention. We we're trying to enjoy ourselves. But then, you start seeing the inconsistencies, comparing us, like, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So, I said, try not to be too critical, but understand what you're getting in for. Like, we tried to ignore a lot of the reviews that we saw about the MSC Seaside. We also, a couple of reasons that we had booked it is that one of the internet personalities that we watched, Lynette and Stanley, Cold Fun Travel, they actually talked about their experience on the Seaside. The Seaside. We're like, oh man, this is great. And then the cruise director was Ryan Rhodes. We're like, oh man, this is going to be great. But all the Seaside's turning itself around. All the reviews we started seeing were with Seaside, MSC turning it around. But the minute that ship went back overseas, the minute it went back to Europe and it came back, Ryan Rhodes was not on that ship. He's on the Seascape. I was like, oh boy. And our cruise director was Italian. Never saw her for the most part. And there's no hate on her, because when you're dealing with different cultures and expectations, you know, some people like to see your cruise director all the time. Some people don't. Some people like to see your cruise directors dancing, interacting with everyone. Some people don't. This was not what we were used to. We did not see her. Well, I didn't see her at all.
I've seen her once, and that was when I went to the Skywalker, the Michael Jackson show. That's when I finally got to see what she looked like. Because like Larry said, she did not show face at the sail away party. If she did, she was hiding. She wasn't at the white party. So, and I'm sure she probably didn't show face at other venues. So that was really surprised to see her at the Skywalker event. And I was like, oh my God, I see what she looks like now. Really, really nice lady, but I guess that's just not her forte. Like he said, I don't think that's how she gets down, to be honest. So I think that is why she wasn't kind of out and about like most cruise directors are.
All right, so this is the final segment of our trip, at least for us giving the recap. So overall opinion of the Seaside, I will say that I would not go back on the Seaside. I would not spend money to go back on the Seaside. There was too many inconsistencies based on how we've seen things in the past, but fortunately with Carnival. So if I were to do MSC, which we actually have 2 more cruises booked with MSC, both of them are World America. I would have to do, World America, or we had to do the Seascape out of Galveston, a ship that does not leave the United States. Because if it's anything like the experience that we had on the Seaside, I will be turned off completely from MSC. Even though the price was great, the price was actually cheaper than Carnival's, but it was not that great of an experience. Now, my family had a good time. So if I had to say, hey, if that's the cheapest way I can get my family back together and we do something different outside of, meeting at someone's house and having Thanksgiving dinner, which is nothing wrong with that. But the biggest thing was we wanted to get my mom out. We wanted to have her do something completely different. And the entire family fell in place with it. So we paid for my mom's to go on a cruise ship. We paid for her hotel room prior in the day we got off the ship. So that was our purpose. And my mom can be finicky sometimes. So the whole family got involved. There was no way she could back out, because she tried to back out. The one that we're doing in 2 days, we tried to get her to go on that one, and she backed out of it. I'm like, Mom, you don't have to do anything. And this is the celebration. She backed out of it. So getting this one together for Thanksgiving, the whole family's going, no one's going to be home. So now you have to go. So she had a good time. Our niece, the rest of my family had a good time. So that's what was most important. But for us, we want to forget that experience. We want to forget this experience. Like she said, entertainment was good. I was not aware. I was asleep in some of the entertainment. And then for the Skywalker, we had a snafu once again. Said some of the people that came with us are technologically challenged. So we ran into the issue where they thought they were going to go. And I told them, no, you can go down there, but it's not a guarantee you're going to get a seat. I told you to download the MSC app. Once again, I'm not going to get into all that, but some of those people were in the room with me. Everyone else that knew how to operate the app said they had a great time at the Skywalker. There went down to she went to Star Walker and the Skywalker, whatever it was called. And she said, it was amazing. I said, wow, way to throw it in my face. And that was that was the last night before we were going to do the debarkation the very next morning. What's your overall opinion on the Seaside?
Overall, I like Larry said, we have 2 more books. So real quick, we did do what we call a future cruise. So Larry booked another cruise while we were on the ship, and as I'm sitting there in disbelief that we're booking another cruise with MSC, after all this craziness that was happening. I politely told the gentleman, I said, I'm done with you all. And that's exactly what I told him. I said, I'm done with you all. I'm good to not do MSC ever again. And he kind of went into, kind of explaining and kind of, saying, yeah, I agree. I don't agree, that talk, but we are going to give World America a chance because apparently this is supposed to be different because it is catered to the American aura, you can say. So fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes. Also, for you gamblers out there, just to let you know, the casino is an in and out. It's a very small casino. The casino was actually empty. Okay. There wasn't much going on. They don't have a non-smoking and a smoking section. Just a FYI, you can kind of just freely smoke or not smoke. And so I wasn't too happy about that. Also, they do not have ATMs. So that is another FYI for those who like to gamble. They do not have ATMs. So once you out of your little dollars, that's pretty much it, unfortunately, because you will not have no access to cash unless you do a cash advance. That was the only option with that when it came to the casino. The kids club, for those who have kids, we did check our kids into the kids club. The kids had a great time. They had no issues with the kids club. They enjoyed going to the kids club. They actually had, we were actually eating at Hola Tacos. And as we were eating, one of our family members ran over and was like, hey, the kids are downstairs performing. And we're like, wait, what? What's going on? What's going on? So they were actually dancing and having a good time. So the kids highly recommend the kids club, and they did take care of our kids. So if you do have kids, that was a plus. With the kids club, the elevators,
we didn't talk about the elevators.
With the elevators. So the elevators, it's a system to where, you press the floor that you want to go to. And it'll tell you how many minutes or how many seconds before the elevator comes. Some days it was good. Some days it was terrible. And that's another thing, like Larry said, and like we were talking with the understaffed there, it was one of those things where even the elevators were a mess, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Somebody did a number 2 on the elevator, and it was just, it stayed on there.
Yeah.
And multiple people reached out, like if you saw someone cleaning, hey, there's poop in there. Oh, okay. And the poop rolled on the elevator. I think my niece, she saw it. She said that it was on that elevator like maybe an hour after she told somebody about it. I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah. So, and like we were saying earlier, it wasn't always the staff. It was also the passengers. Yeah. I mean, we had an incident with, at the kids club with a drunk guy. It was very, not okay. Let's just say it was not okay. So yeah, some of those passengers on this particular, voyage was not, they were not the best. Overall, like I said, it wasn't all bad, but out of us from 1 to 10, I'll give it a 4. That's just my opinion. And again, I did it. I could say I did it, but if I never did it again, I would be okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And she mentioned some of the other issues. So the reason for the 4, We also had another incident at the kids club where someone tried to jump the line and we were trying to get to, I had to step in and like, hey, we're standing here for a reason. I was like, we have somewhere to be. And like everybody stopped, stared at me. And I don't want to be the person that they're like, oh, the angry American. Like, no, like that's not what it is. Like, I'm not that person. But once again, we were stationed in Germany, and this is the same type of behavior that we saw where it's not malicious. There's nothing malicious about it, but it's just their culture. So you have to stand up and say, you got to be a little aggressive. So, hey, I need to be aggressive. Fine. The other incident we had was we went to, I have this thing where any cruise ship that we go on, I'm going to buy a ship. So went to go buy a ship. They said the card wasn't attached to my account. There was something wrong with the card. I said, there's nothing wrong with the card. But I'm like, hey, you doing your job? We go down to guest services. I was jumping through hoops trying to get it taken care of. I don't know if the guy didn't believe me or what. Guest service was like, no, everything's fine. So went back up to the ship store, or I don't know, maybe that's not what it's called, but that's where you could buy your cruise ships and other accessories. And he had to call down there and they told him, no, he's fine. Oh, okay, everything's fine. And he was like, well, it's not working on yours. Let me see yours. I said, it's the same card. The card is my card, but the card is for the entire room. Like, you want to see her sell and sign card? I don't know if that's what they call it on MSC, but I was like, all right, fine. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. You're just trying to do your job. I think they were very inexperienced, because all he had to do, if that was the case, was make that phone call down to guest services before, instead of having me run all over the ship to try to get something fixed. So that was another issue that upset me. Another issue that we ran into was when we got to Ocean Cay, they didn't want to let our son off the ship with us talking about we won't authorize to take him off the ship. I'm like, what do you mean? What ship? And they put some individual who, they weren't even.
Yeah, it was, when I looked at the screen, it was some random lady. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So that was another icing on the cake, because that was not okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Some random black lady. We're like, wait a minute. Like y'all need to fix this now. So once again, so these red flags. So, as we were talking about it, because it's been about 2 weeks since we've been on the ship. We wanted to try to get try to get this review done when we first got back, but we had so much stuff going on when we got back, because, we're preparing for the one that we're getting ready to do in 2 days. So it's like, oh crap, we got another ship, another cruise that we got to prepare for. And, life happens. So it would have been more organized as far as our thoughts, but as we're bringing it back up, yeah, 3 or 4, overall, the staff, very nice. They're just slow, very slow. They don't use face towels. You have to ask for face towels. So we came in the room, we never had face towels. So we had to ask the guest services or the guest store, like, hey, can we get 3 face towels? Oh, okay, no problems. Once again, this ship was coming from Europe. So maybe it's just one of their policies and things like that, or their customs, but we had to ask for face towels. That's an easy fix. You know what I mean? That's an easy fix. But yeah, I think that 3 or that 4, I think that's legit. I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. So, well, that's it for us. That was our review of the MSC Seaside cruise from November 24th to November 28th. Definitely we'll be bringing up another review when we get on the celebration, because we need to get this bad taste out of our mouths. And we are looking forward to MSC World America next year and for 2027 to kind of make up for what we experienced on this one, because everything that we experienced on this one was everything that we were warned about from the videos and things that we watched previously. And we just try to shake it off like, oh, cruise is what you make of it. But no, it's a different cultures, different responses. Like I said, they move very slow. They're nice. They move too slow, so I need to stick with cruises or cruise ships or destinations that are home base. I want to say home base, but their main market is the U.S. So like the World America, when we get on that one, I expect that to be totally different, hopefully. So Without further ado, I'm Larry.
I'm Dara.
Y'all stay cruising.